morning, children. It's kind of a cool day here today, so I have the fire going. Nani's going to read you a story that I just discovered this past year. It was Eliot, Emerson, and Franny that introduced me to this book. And today, my reading is dedicated to Eliot because yesterday was her birthday, and my birthday gift to her had something to do with this book. The name of the book is A Fine Dessert. It's about over 400 years, 4 different families, although they are related, and I'll show you why I know that later. So 4 families, 400 years, but one delicious treat. And I want you to look carefully. Here's the house in 1710, a little house. Here is a plantation home in 1810, townhomes in 1910, and a stucco home in 2010 that looks a lot like Aunt Allie's. It's written by Emily Jenkins. The pictures are by Sophie Blackall. They're wonderful. What I love about this book is it takes one dessert, it's called Blackberry Fool, and the recipe for that. And it gives you the recipe at the end. These families each make the same recipe. However, you're going to see that they had different tools to make it with and different ways of doing it. What you're also going to see is how the times change each time we step up 100 years. So it's a very interesting book to me. You know I love history. A bit more than 300 years ago, in an English town called Lyme, a girl and her mother picked wild blackberries. Their hands turned purple with the juice. The thorns of the berry bushes pricked the fabric of their long skirts. So that's the first house that we saw in the countryside in England. Here's the girl and the mother carrying the baby just like a lot of your mamas do, picking blackberries, and I think it's fun to see how the bushes pricking their skirts. So to start this, they have to go out and pick their own berries. When they got home, the woman had to milk the cow and then skim the cream off the evening's milk, adding it to the cream from the morning's milk, and she began to beat it all with a bundle of clean, soft twigs. So they picked the berries. Now she's got to go milk the cow, and she made her own beater out of twigs. Beat, 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 beat. Her arm began to ache. Beat, 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 beat. 15 minutes later, she stopped. Whipped cream. This is a picture of how hard she had to work to whip that cream. The girl drew water from the well. She put the berries in a piece of muslin, which is cloth, and rinsed them. Then she squashed and strained them through the muslin, getting rid of the seeds. Together, she and her mother poured sugar on the fruit and then mixed it with the cream. "You may lick the spoon, love," said the woman. So the girl did. This shows how they lived their life. The girl had to go up the hill to the water well to get the water, and then she used the cloth to strain the berries. They mixed in sugar and then mixed it with the cream, and she got to lick the spoon. They carried the mixture to an ice pit in the hillside. It chilled near sheets of winter ice packed with reeds and straw. Now remember, this is way before electricity. They didn't have refrigerators and freezers. So they had dug a pit in the hillside and had sheets of ice which they cut from the ponds in the winter. And because it stayed in there covered in straw, it stayed cold. That's how they kept their dessert cold. After the family supper, which was cold chicken, mushroom ketchup, and meat pie, they spooned the blackberry fool into blue dishes and served it to Father and the older brothers. Even the baby had some. And later in the kitchen, the girl licked the bowl clean. What a fine dessert. Now this is what I love about this book. You can see, because it was back in the 1700s, they didn't have electricity, so They have candles for their light. Here's the baby in its cradle. Up on top of the fireplace, they have to be by the fireplace for warmth. And up here, they have their platters. I want you to notice the black horse figurine. Also notice the way the boys' hairstyles and the clothing. All very 1700s. A bit more than 200 years ago, now this is in 1810, outside a city called Charleston, South Carolina, a girl and her mother picked blackberries from the plantation garden. So they have a garden. There's the plantation house. Beautiful, isn't it? Looks a lot like Rebecca's Virginia house, where Gracie was born, and Callie, Millie. Here are the mama and her daughter picking from the blackberry bushes. Now the interesting thing is here, they do not own that house. They are actually slaves. This was during a very sad part of our country's history where people kept other people as slaves, and this mother and daughter are house slaves for the master. A horse-drawn wagon delivered cream from a nearby dairy. That's good. They didn't have to go milk the cow. The girl beat the cream with a metal whisk made by the local blacksmith. So there's milk that they're getting. They don't have to go milk the cow, and the metal whisk instead of the twigs. Beat, 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 beat. Her arm began to ache. Beat, beat. 10 minutes later, whipped cream. So it went from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. Here's the girl helping her mom in the kitchen, beating the whipped cream. The girl washed the berries in the water from the well. Then she smashed them through a tin sieve with the back of a spoon, getting rid of the seeds. Together, she and her mother poured sugar on the fruits and then mixed it with the cream. "You may lick the spoon, child," the woman said. So the girl did. In this picture, you see the girl still had to go fetch the water. She still is straining out the berries, but she did it with a tin sieve instead of cloth. I want you to notice this is the same as before. They're mixing the sugar with the berries and the berries with the cream and licking the spoon. Now they have to keep it cool. They carried the mixture to a wooden box in the basement. It was stacked with blocks of ice, lined with lead, insulated with cork. They put the bowl in. So they actually had something in the house, in the basement. They didn't have to go to the hillside, but it's still a wooden box. There's no electricity still. See how they're using a candle? They still had to put sheets of ice in there, but they were able to keep it there in their house. After waiting table at supper, where the master and his family ate turtle soup, roast turkey, corn cakes, and sweet potatoes, they spooned the blackberry fool into the yellow dishes and served it. Look at this picture. So there, both the mother and the girl are serving the family. So you see the difference is here, they made the dessert not for themselves. They were making it for the master. There's even a little boy here pulling on a rope which pulls a fan back and forth to keep the family cool. And they're eating by candlelight because there's still no electricity. Later, the girl and her mother hid in the closet and they licked the bowl clean together. What a fine dessert. Here they are hiding in the closet. Now, I would expect a child to hide in the closet if they were eating something or doing something they shouldn't do and they're trying not to be seen. But why were the girl and her mother hiding in the closet? Well, it's because they were slaves and they were not allowed to eat the food that they cooked for the master's family. But they really wanted to lick that bowl. They had done all the work, so they hid in the closet. a bit more than 100 years ago. Now it's 1910. In a city called Boston, Massachusetts, a girl and her mother bought 2 wooden boxes of blackberries at an open-air market. So here's the house. It's a row of townhouses. And actually, you probably don't remember, but Aunt Becca and Uncle Chris lived in a home kind of like this in Virginia before they bought their big white house. The houses are connected together. And look, they are buying the blackberries, which is far more convenient. It will take much less time to make the dessert if you don't have to go and pick the blackberries. When they got home, their morning's delivery of pasteurized cream was waiting at the door in pretty glass bottles. There it was. You guys might remember when I've told stories about my daddy. He used to deliver milk to people's houses. They just put it on the outside of the door and the lady would come out and get it. And I want you to notice this rotary beater, because this is, it's got a handle up here. You turn, and the faster you turn it, the faster these beaters whirl. The woman looked at a recipe book. She beat the cream with cast iron rotary beaters. 5 minutes later, whipped cream. So we've gone from 15 minutes to make whipped cream to 10 minutes. And now 5 minutes. She was using a recipe book. The girl drew water from the new faucet in the kitchen. She washed the berries and smashed them through a sieve with her fingers. Her hands turned purple with the juice. Together, she and her mother poured sugar on the fruit, mixed it with the cream. "Do you want to lick the spatula, my pet?" said the woman. "Yes, yes," said the girl, and she licked it clean. Much easier to get water now. She just turns on a faucet at a sink. And here's her sieve that she uses. But here's the same thing. They mix the sugar with the berries and pour in the cream, and there she is licking the spoon. Then they carried the blackberry full to a wooden ice box, stocked with blocks of ice that they had delivered by a delivery man each day. Now, I remember these guys. I didn't have one, but some of the older people that I knew did. No electricity. It's just a stand-up box lined with lead or tin with blocks of ice in the bottom of it, and you could put things inside and it would keep it cool. After Sunday dinner, which was potato soup, roast chicken and canned asparagus on toast, they spooned the fool into green dishes and ate it together with father and the younger brothers. Even the baby had some. Back in the kitchen, the girl ran her tongue along the inside of the bowl. What a fine dessert. Here they are in their dining room, and look what they have. Now we have electric lights. The baby has a high chair. They're all sitting at the table together eating their dessert. And something I want you to see, do you remember the very first home in the 1700s? They had a horse statue. There's a horse statue. You know what I forgot to show you? I'm going to go backwards for just a moment, because I forgot to show you that when the plantation home, when that master and his family were eating their food, look what was on their mantle. You know what that tells me? This is all one family, and great-great-great-great-grandmother gave the horse to her daughter, who gave it to her daughter, who gave it to her daughter, and it got passed down, down, down. Each family still has that horse. We do that with some of our things, too. Just a couple of years ago, 2010, in a city called San Diego, California, a boy and his dad bought 2 cardboard boxes of blackberries and a carton of pasteurized organic cream at the supermarket. Well, that's easy. Now this is the house, and it looks so much like the house where Aunt Allie lives in Phoenix, because San Diego is a desert city, just like Phoenix is. And here's the boy and his dad buying what they need at the store. Much more convenient. When they got home, the man printed out a recipe from the internet, and the boy beat the cream with an electric mixer. So the man didn't even have to have a printed recipe. He just had to get it off the internet and print it. There's their string bag, bringing home their goodies. And here is the electric mixer, and a lot of you have one of these. You may have used it yourself, or you may have watched your mama use it. Bzzz. 2 minutes later, whipped cream. It reminded the boy of shaving cream. Looky there. 2 minutes is all it took him to whip the cream. The man ran water in the sink, and he washed the berries in a colander. He crushed them in a food processor, not a sieve and not a piece of cloth. He pushed them through a sieve, then with a plastic spatula, and together they poured sugar on the fruit, then mixed it with the cream. "Can I lick the spatula?" asked the boy. "Of course you can, buddy," said the man, so the boy did. Water from a faucet, using a food processor which grinds up the berries, so all he has to do is easily press them. And then the same steps everybody's done for 400 years. Sugar in the berries, put that into the cream, and lick the spoon. They put the mixture into their refrigerator. The doorbell rang, and friends surged in, bringing cartons of lemonade, grilled vegetables, enchiladas, and tomato salad. They're having a party. That's why they made their recipe. And look at their friends. Their friends are coming in, and now you see that you've got a black mama and a little baby, and her husband and another baby and a boy. And she's not a slave, because that was ruled wrong a long time ago. Instead, they're all friends. I love this. Oh, I want to show you something else. Look. Ta-da! The horse. So these people are related to that very first family in the 1700s. After a long and good dinner, the man and his son spooned the blackberry fool into white dishes, served it to their guests. Everyone gobbled it up, especially the babies. After the guests went home, the boy stood in the messy kitchen licking the inside of the bowl. What a fine dessert. But the blackberry fool had been so very, very delicious, there wasn't much left. Here is their dinner, outside under the tree. And look, they have candlelight and lanterns, not because they don't have electricity, but because they love it. And all their friends are gathered. And here's the boy, just like all the other kids, licking the last of the blackberry fool. I love this story. The very last thing in the book, in case you want to get this book, is a picture of the dessert and ta-da, the recipe. If you make it with your family, would you take pictures for me and send it to me? Because I would love to see how you make the blackberry fool. I love you. And Miss Eliot, 11 years old, happy birthday yesterday.